My name is Eric Glauner, and I'm going to be taking you through the OneHome portal overview. What we're going to talk about are the settings that are going to be changing. So there's a little bit that you're going to want to kind of address. Notifications, those aren't really changing much at all. There's one minor change to the notifications. The benefits to you and your client, I really think you guys are going to be really happy with the new portal. Talk about the difference between activated and unactivated clients. We'll talk about that. How to view the OneHome portal activity. Okay, just kind of get an overview of all of this. So the one thing I want to mention right now is that the current product, which we simply refer to as the client portal, and OneHome, they're both portals. Okay, because essentially what a portal is, lowercase p, portal, the client's going to go and interface with the properties that you're sending them, right? So just understand that if I'm using the term portal, it's just because, that's where they're going to go to interface with products, okay, or properties, I guess I should say. So that's what I just said here on this slide, that OneHome is the new client portal. And like I said, you're going to have very little to do. One night you go to bed, the next morning you get up, the clients have it, you have it, and we go with it. So let me go ahead and bring over my Matrix login. Now, y'all do not have this right now. Like I said, it's coming, so don't anticipate logging into Matrix and following along with me. And hey, my screen doesn't look like that. No, it doesn't. Okay. Now, with that said, the one thing that you are going to have is this new widget they just turned on a little while ago, a couple days ago, a week ago, somewhere in that time frame. They turned on this widget called the Matrix Learning Lab. And if you go into the Matrix Learning Lab, it's going to give you some resources, some videos, some write-ups, some marketing materials that you might decide to share with your clients about the OneHome product that's coming up. So you can even take over when I'm done here with your own learning and kind of go down that route if you'd like to know more information in the product. So on FMLS.com in Matrix, let's go ahead and keep it centric to you all for now. We're going to switch our focus at a certain point during this presentation to how your clients are interfacing and, the client experience of it all. But go ahead, let's talk about what agents are going to want to prepare for and what they're going to need to know. So if I click in the upper right corner in Matrix and I go to my settings under the Hello link, hopefully that's not a surprise to any of you. This screen we do have now. So let's go to the My Information screen. And what's changing here is you'll notice that we have one different tab at the top that says OneHome. So our current tabs along the top there, we have a tab that says Portal Profile. And so that's going away. Now it says OneHome. We're going to look at that in a second. The only other thing that I would mention here along the tabs is when OneHome comes out, your header and footer tab, which you're normally used to seeing, at the top of your client portal. Maybe you've chosen, it's kind of cold out. It's supposed to only be 31 Saturday. I'm kind of having to psych myself up for that, prepare for that. So maybe I'm thinking about a beach. So yeah, the header and footer is what you're seeing right now at the top of your portals. That's going to, from OneHome's release forward, just be on your printouts. Okay, so it's going to actually be the traditional header and footer definition on just printouts. So you don't need to do your header and footer for your OneHome. So let's go over to the OneHome tab then and take a look at what's here. So you can see that you can upload an agent photo, and then down below you've got all of your links and phone numbers and whatnot that you can put in there. So this is a nice little upgrade for you because it's got a specific space for a Twitter, Facebook, Instagram kind of places. You can put a title, some little blurb. You can put in a YouTube link. I've got the OneHome video that CoreLogic put out, but maybe you were on an episode of House Hunters or something and you want to feature a video of yours. Notice it does say at the bottom it's got to be a YouTube or a Vimeo link. But this is a little bit of a kick up to what we did have already in that portal profile tab. So again, it's just a little bit of an upgrade. Okay, but it's very similar to that. So the nice thing about this is in the current portal, this type of information where you would put the video and you would put a link to your inventory and that kind of stuff, That's a separate tab up at the top of the current client portal. How you're going to see OneHome do this in a little bit when I bring over my first OneHome portal that I want to show you. Your face is going to be floating down in the corner on every page. Now, I'm the kind of person where the minute I stop looking at something, if I have to go to another tab to talk to you, I've forgotten literally 2 seconds ago why I clicked you to ask you what question. I can't remember because I had to go to a different tab. So what's nice about OneHome is, like I said, your face is going to be at the bottom in the corner of every screen so that whatever a client might be looking at, they can just tap your picture down there or whatever image you might upload, and they'll be able to interface with you right there while they're still looking at whatever it is they want to ask about. So I really like that. It's good for me who has, the memory of a goldfish. So that's a big change going on here. So that's the one thing you might want to get taken care of when OneHome comes up. This might be your number one thing that you do. Go in and make sure that you've got your links there and kind of how you want to make your presence available to your clients on their portals. But continuing this thought, let's go once more in the upper right corner. I'm going to go to the Hello Eric link, go to settings, and let's talk about portal notification settings. Again, this isn't really changing. You have this now. Hopefully it's no surprise to any of you, but if we go to portal notification settings, this is where you can say, hey, when somebody visits my portal, I would like a daily summary of my clients who are going to their portal, for example. So the way I usually train this is I'll say, do I need an ASAP email or text when somebody just visits what I'm sending them? Probably not. But if I have maybe 15 clients that I'm working with and only 6 or 7 of them are actually picking up the slack and actually looking and paying attention at what I'm sending them, it's nice to know who's doing their fair amount of work on the back end. So I kind of like the idea of getting at least a daily summary on who's actually looking at what I'm sending them, who's engaged with me. But then the next link down you can see says save a favorite. Well, especially in our market now that's so short on inventory and all that kind of stuff, you definitely want to know ASAP when somebody saves a favorite. So I would encourage you, maybe you want to make sure you don't miss it. I'm going to get an ASAP email, an ASAP text, and an ASAP or a daily summary, excuse me. Because maybe, again, if you're like me, there's some mornings you wake up and you thought you were charging your phone on the bedstand, but you wake up and it's 4%. You're like, oh no, my phone's going to die at any second. So you can actually put check marks all across the row for this to make sure you absolutely do not miss an activity. So one note on this is if your text column is grayed out, just notice below the grid, you need to verify that you are using the proper number. So what you're going to do is you're going to click here to edit your cellular information and then provide your phone number. Tell us who your carrier is. That way we will send you a 6-digit code, I believe it is, might be 4 or 5. Anyway, whatever. It's going to send you a code, and then you have to kind of put in the right code. You have to pair that back to the system so that way we can guarantee that you did type in the right number. We're not just sending some random telephone number somewhere in the world, random information about, who favorited a property, that kind of stuff. So make sure that you verify your phone number before you can set up to receive text messages. That's really all there is as far as setup goes. One other note that I'm going to mention, I'll just put it here. I usually come back to this later, but I'll put it here just because we're on this screen. You're going to see an upgraded feature in OneHome is that clients can ask you or indicate to you what availability they have to go look at a home that you've sent them. So they can look at a home in their OneHome portal and they can say, I want to request a tour and I'm free Saturday between noon and 6. And if they do that, if they request a tour, they indicate what day and what time they're free, that comes back to you as a note on the property. Okay, so again, I'm going to show you that during the session. But you want to make sure, especially because of that, you are going to choose to get notified when a client assigns a note to a property. That way, if they are going to, like I said, request a showing or indicate when they're free for one, you'll get that note. Okay, so again, we're going to see that during this session. I'm going to take that away and I'm going to go to the next slide because here's something that agents have been asking for a while and probably clients have been asking more for a while. Now, not only, of course, can you set up text, which again, you have currently with the current portal, but with OneHome, now your clients can receive properties via text. Okay. So how that's going to work is you can see here on this screen that on the left side there, if you're just kind of cherry picking listings, you just pick a couple listings from a grid and you send it, you'll have the ability to check that box there that says also send link via SMS text message. Below that to the right, you're going to see the equivalent of when you're setting up an auto email. You can just auto email, let Matrix text them automatically. Okay. But with that, of course, just like we had to kind of verify that you typed in the right number as an agent, we want to do the same thing for the client. So how that's going to work, you can't just automatically put a check and start sending them text messages. You're going to send an email to your client first, maybe after asking them, hey, I have the ability to text you. Would you like that? Yes. Okay, well, I'm going to send you an email that you're going to have to click opt in. And then you kind of just put in your phone number, click activate, say, I agree. I understand that if my texts aren't free, this might cost me money, that kind of thing. They're going to be responsible for opting in to text messages. But that's kind of exciting. That's something that agents and their clients have been asking for a while. So yay for that. All right. But without further ado, let me bring over the unactivated client portal. Okay. So unactivated client portal, I'm going to see if I can, there we go. All right. Hang on one second. I'm trying to get some controls around here. So you can see in the upper right corner, there's a button that says activate account. When you have a client that first comes to their portal, they will not have an account activated. It will be kind of like it has been now for the past several years. They can just get in and start working with their properties. Okay. But here's where this activation comes in. You can see over on the left side, as you look down along the properties there is a map location. They can kind of open that Google map there. There's a dislike and a favorite capability. If I click favorite, it says, oh, wait a minute, hang on, you've got to activate an account. So the purpose of this activate account is anytime a client wants to kind of put their own personal touch on the listing, favorite it, request a showing, add a note, kind of otherwise mark that property with their personal touch. Basically, CoreLogic is saying, okay, we need an account for you to tie those comments and preferences to. All right, because with the current portal setup, what could happen, this has happened in the past, an agent will send, sometimes by accident, the same portal to multiple people, and then you've got multiple people in the portal who are writing their own notes and favoriting different properties, or you've got a client that's posting the link to their portal on their Facebook or sending it to all their relatives saying, hey, what do you guys think about this house? And then all their relatives are typing in notes and all that kind of stuff. So it got kind of hectic. So this is a way to keep someone's notes and preferences kind of separate. Each person will have their own. And that way it also lends some security as well, just in case, maybe you've got Dwayne Johnson buying a house around here. The Rock's going to buy a house and, his assistant gets his email and, hey, I'll give you $50 if you forward that email to TMZ, So now there's going to be an account that they can have, that they can keep that stuff kind of private and separate. So just to show you this for right now, in case anybody's like, ugh, the client's going to have to sign up for something, they're going to hate that. Well, hang on a second. Let me click activate an account so that you can see what's involved. They already have the email address because you as the agent have been sending them emails up until this point, right? So they don't need to enter their email address. Literally all they need to do is put in what preferred name would you like to go by and what password would you like to set up for your account. Okay. So it's not even that big because of course they can save their password in the browser. So they don't even have to remember the password if they don't want to. Okay. But again, it's all for the purpose of security and keeping things kind of separate. And questions that I've had about that, let me just kind of preempt them if anybody's wondering. One question is, what if it's a husband and wife? Can they have their own notes? Can they have their own preferences? That question is best answered by saying it depends on how you're setting up the client. If you're putting the client in matrix with multiple email addresses, then yes, they'll have their own link to that portal. So that would be how you'd want to set that up. Okay, if they're sharing the same email address, then again, it's going to go to that one email address when they log in. So they would have to share likes and favorites and notes and stuff. So, just think about how you're setting up the client. It'll allow that if you set the client up with multiple email addresses. The other question that I've had concerns are, wait, so a client's going to have to register. Is CoreLogic going to sell my client's information? I'm really concerned. I have kind of this, holy experience or this relationship with my client, right? I'm very ethical. I need to make sure I'm protecting my client's information. Absolutely, 100%. Never, never, ever will information be shared with anybody else. Okay, it's actually in our contracts that we've drawn up with CoreLogic between us and FMLS. We told them in no uncertain terms, you absolutely 100% cannot sell client data or anything like that. So rest assured, we're not letting that happen. All right. So let's just take a look. For example, again, we're still on the non-activated account. So what I'm showing you right now is all the stuff that your client can do without activating an account. So for example, one of the newest things that we've got here, which is really slick, I like it. Notice in the lower right corner of each of these little grids for my property is a compare link. The client can compare up to 3 properties. And as they click the compare link for those 3, they'll see that they have notifications in the upper right. If they just click see more, they can go to the go to compare, and it's kind of almost a CMA style. Okay, so if we look at how the properties are compared, we have general information including beds, baths, square footage, and price per square foot. We have estimated monthly costs where they can actually play with these numbers to say, what's your down payment? What kind of mortgage do you want? What's the interest rate would you like to kind of estimate at? What do you think your property taxes, home insurance, HOA monthly amount is going to be? So there's an estimated monthly cost calculator they can play with. There's the features. There's more photos that they can go through. They can look at property details, even more details there. Exterior, interior, there's building details, including the utilities and construction, homeowners associations, other facts and figures, including schools nearby. Okay, and then neighborhood data, including walk, bike, and transit scores. We're going to look at that in a little bit. But it's a really nice upgrade, something that they don't currently have in their current client portal, that they can compare up to 3 properties at once and kind of just see those side by side. I think it's a really nice little feature upgrade. Is it the biggest thing in the world? Maybe not, but it's really a nice upgrade. I would love that as your client. It makes it a lot easier to compare things. So let's go ahead and actually click into a property to see what they've got. So remember that in the left corner there of the property, they have the ability to like or dislike a property. But again, remember that they have to activate the account. I'm going to show you here in a little bit an activated account, so you'll see what that looks like. But again, maybe it's not until they're into the details that they dislike or like a property, so that's going to be up there. Also, while they're looking at a single single property, they can click on the breakdown of monthly cost, and this still gives them the ability to play with that calculator with their 30-year fixed interest rate, property taxes, how much home insurance do you think you're going to need, all that kind of stuff. They can still play around with that when they're looking at a single property. The request a tour, I mentioned it earlier. I'll demonstrate that when we get to the activated account. Add a note is there. Again, that's also going to be something that they need to register for. Compare, I just showed you that a minute ago. Here's something that's nice. Market Insights. If I click View Insights, this comes over and it gives me just a little bit of insight about this part of town that says on average homes in this area sell for about 99% of their asking price. The median sale price, owner occupied versus renter in that part of town. There's a graph dealing with your prices. Here's some demographic information brought in by the census, which you can choose to see age, education level, marital status, So especially if you've got clients who are going to be moving in from out of state, they can see that kind of information on the right. Again, that was in the market insights. And again, remember that they don't have to register an account to see that. Of course, they're going to be able to see all of the photos. They can either scroll through the existing one, left or right. They can click view all to get a grid, and then, maybe go, oh, I'd really like a kitchen. Let's take a look at what the kitchen looks like. I like the double ovens, whatever. So photos are pretty self-explanatory. And the other thing that I like, and as I start to scroll down here, something that I want to mention, the current client portal is great. I'm not going to naysay it at all. It's served us well for the last couple years. But one thing I think I notice here, and I would encourage you maybe to consider, the current client portal is very much report. Here's the information, here's the information, here's the information, here's the information. The OneHome setup, I think, is a lot more friendly looking. It's a lot more about an experience for your client than just worrying about shoving their faces full of information. So just as I go down, we're going to see a little bit more detailed days on market, square footage, public remarks. There's some features, and just like we saw on the compare screen, here's some more property details, including exterior. There's the room, interior details, building details, utilities, construction, information about the homeowners association, other facts and features, legal information, location. There's some nearby schools. Elementary's Fernbank, middle is Druid Hills, high school's Druid Hills. There we have some school ratings. It says charter school versus public school, middle schools, high schools, private schools. There's 28 more schools local to this one that you can get more information on. So you can expand that section as well. Another thing I like about OneHome is it puts the public record right there, bam, in line with the client's view. They can click view public record data and see the tax information for it. What's on the taxes? Sometimes, of course, especially to investors, they're going to want to know what the tax record looks like. Okay, so that's in line there. You can just see that along the way. If there's any open houses upcoming, they'll see that. Of course, there's a link that says Public Health Advisory, which we all know probably in this day and age is just encouraging people not to go to somebody's house when you're sick, right? And then, of course, down toward the bottom of the information for this property, maybe it's not until they're here in the thick of it that they decide they favorite it or it's not for them. Not only that, but they have your agent information that you can contact right there. And also, as I said before, notice in the lower right corner, it's been there this whole time, but there's my little, pop-up window. And if I wanted to, I can click on that. And there's my name, there's my information, link. You're going to see, you might notice that it doesn't have the phone number there. The phone number is not there just for right now because I am on a beta test server. You will have your phone number there as well when it launches. So don't worry if you're kind of wondering why a phone number is not there. But going back to this property, kind of finishing it up, we have getting around the neighborhood. So again, we have a walk score, and all that means is you can see that there's an 84 score here that says most errands can be accomplished on foot or, within a short amount of distance, right? There's a lot of stuff that you can get to pretty easily at the end of the block, whereas biking, transit, are there buses? Is there MARTA there? What have you? Price history, tax history, and then down toward the bottom, similar properties. Now, here's another thing that I like about this too. The similar properties along the bottom of a particular record will feature ones that you have sent to the client. Okay, it's going to only feature the ones, well, I shouldn't say that. It's going to start, let me put it this way, it's going to start by featuring properties that you've sent to your client. But if your client has gone through all of the listings that you've sent them, what a great client. But if they've gone through all the listings that you've sent them, the system will start to suggest properties that look like the ones that you're sending them. It will start to try to suggest properties. So don't think of it as, oh, the system's trying to put words in my mouth. It's going to recommend properties that I maybe wouldn't recommend. It's not trying to get a jump on you. It's not trying to, sink your business and take over your role with the client. All it's doing is it's saying, okay, well, we've exhausted what the agent has sent to you. CoreLogic's goal, FMLS would like to keep your client on their portal as long as possible, because if your client's on their portal, they're looking at real estate. Who's the real estate expert they're dealing with? You. And so the philosophy is the longer they're on the portal, the more likely they are to call you with something, the more likely they might see something that they want to know more about. So, like I said, it's going to start with all of the properties that you send. It will not come up with its own suggestions until after it's exhausted what you've sent them. So it's always going to keep you front and center. So I'm going to go ahead and click back to listings in the upper left corner, back to my split screen. So let's take a look kind of above there. All right. So up at the very top, there is a buy/rent link that will have two options on it. Properties, which will take you, or take them, I should say, to the properties that you've sent them. So properties will always take them back to what you've sent, but you can see there they can do their own search as well. So again, this is nothing new. Clients right now with the current existing portal can do searches, and sometimes similarly to those suggested properties I was just talking about, agents get a little iffy on clients doing searches for themselves because, again, they kind of feel, some of them feel threatened when a client's doing their own search or something. But there's a couple reasons that this is a good thing. One is if you've ever dealt with a client who's brought an app to you or something that they found somewhere else, and they say, what can you tell me about this property? You're like, that's on some other app. I don't know. That's a for sale by owner that they took to some other program. I have no idea. It's guaranteed that if they're doing a search in their OneHome portal or in their current client portal, those are only listings that are going to be in Matrix. So you are 100% going to know about any property that they find when they do a search here. So that's a good thing. The other thing is, just like that suggested properties at the bottom of what we were looking at in the last screen, the purpose for allowing your client to do their own search is simply to whet their appetite, to keep them on this screen longer, to ask you for more details. The biggest way I can tell you that that's true is if I click more up here for my client's search criteria. That's all the search criteria they have, nowhere near the amount of power and precision you have for your searches. So again, searching for clients is only meant to kind of get them interested and then contact you as their expert, as their agent, to get them more information. Okay, so there's a search that they have capable of doing. However, they're not going to be able to save their search. So they can run a search anytime they want to. They can't save it until they activate that account. We're going to take a look at that. Favorites up in the blue bar, still kind of continuing and wrapping up this experience for the unactivated client. They have favorites, but again, it's not going to work because they need to activate to see favorites. So let's take a look at the last thing really that an unactivated client will have. There's a link up there that says planner. If I go to the planner, you're going to notice the first thing I'm going to draw your attention to is in the upper right corner of the planner is a link for buying mode or selling mode. So what the planner is meant to do, again, it's one more tool that CoreLogic is employing to kind of try to keep your client here, to keep them engaged, and then therefore keep them engaged with you when they have a question about something that they're seeing. So what the planner tool is, for example, on the buying side, they're saying, hey, here's maybe the 4 things that you really should look at when you're getting ready to buy. And then when you're finished with those 4 steps, here's some steps while you're in that browse property mode. And then you're going to go into making an offer, and then we're going to go into closing. So there's 4 more things to think about while you're at closing or in that phase. So the purpose here, again, if you have your own kind of checklist or strategy with your clients that you go over what to do at certain phases and times during, their experience on the market, not meant to replace that. You do you, right? You whatever works for your business is what we want you to do. But again, this is one more tool that maybe at 10:30 at night when the clients finally got a quiet house, they can go through their real estate and look at it and kind of go, okay, well, did I do this? That brings up an interesting question. And again, they can just click on your face down in the corner and then ask you, write you an email, check out your Insta, whatever this thing is, send them a DM, what have you. And of course, this can work on both sides because maybe you're going to help a seller in Marietta move to Stone Mountain, for example. So both sides are going to be available. And you as the agent will be able to kind of track their progress as they go through it. So maybe you would assign them like, hey, when you're in your one home, go up to the planner and start taking a look at the planner, right? And that would give you a conversation to have with your client. So this is just a nice little tool that you can use, like I said, to kind of have a conversation with your client. Okay, so let's take away that unactivated portal. And so here's a little grid real quickly of what they can do or can't do based on whether they've activated their account or not. The things that are kind of outlined in that pinkish purple, I don't know, fuchsia, periwinkle. Is fuchsia pinkish purple? I never know. I always get surprised, like it's a green color or something. I don't know, whatever. So the ones that are outlined in that pinkish purple color, they're going to have to activate the account. Again, here in just a couple minutes, I'm going to take you into an activated account so that you can see the full array of what they can do. There's still some really cool stuff that they can do. I know some of you might be like, oh, okay, I get this. All right. But don't go to sleep on me just yet, because there's some really cool stuff that clients are going to be able to do when they activate their account. I want to go through a couple screens here first before I show you the activated portal, because when I bring over my activated portal, I've done this presentation a couple times by now. So clearly my client has been in already. So I want to show you a couple slides here on what your client's going to see the first time they go into their portal. Okay. So as I said, kind of at the beginning of this presentation, y'all are going to go to sleep one night, you wake up the next morning, and you've got one home. So when that client clicks on their link into their portal after one home launches, this is what they're going to see. They're going to get a little intro there. You can see now my boss, her name is Pat Deneen. She's got these slides. She put these slides for us trainers together, so it's her name there. But you can kind of see that little intro, and it says continue there. There's 6 slides. It says welcome to One Home, see what's new. There's the planner, which I just spoke about. They can click next there. Favorites and dislikes. And I would argue if there was one thing that as an agent you want to encourage your client to do, or one reason that you would really want to encourage your client to activate an account, it's so that they can indicate back to you what they favorited and what they've disliked. Because you can have conversations with a client. I'll tell you, for instance, if it were me, if I was your client, if you looked at me and said, Eric, do you like a Cape Cod or a Tudor style? I'm going to look at you like a deer in headlights. I don't know what the difference between Tudor and Cape Cod is. I don't know. So a lot of times I encourage agents to look at your client's favorites, because, for example, if your client is favoriting properties that all have wraparound porches, but you haven't spoken to them about that, you're going to be able to key in on that fact and say, I noticed that you're doing wraparound porches. I've got a great community that's about 5 streets away, maybe $15,000 over budget, that maybe we can negotiate that you didn't think about, and I think I might hit gold because that community is full of wraparound porches, for example. So being able to see what your client's favoriting is really important, I think, as an agent. Okay. Propertyfit. I'm going to show you this. This is an amazing tool. This is probably the single most exciting thing that's coming out of One Home, at least from my opinion. So I'm going to show you that in a little bit. And then the final one is going to just kind of encourage them, hey, if you like kind of some of those things, consider activating your account. So they can obviously click activate account at the bottom. And like I showed you, all it is what's your preferred name and what password would you like to set up? They don't have to put 15 different questions in and all this kind of stuff. It's real simple. But also notice in the lower right corner, they can just click not now, and they can not be bothered with it. They can just view what we went over a couple minutes ago. But let me go ahead and bring over that activated portal, and let's kind of take a look at it. So here's an activated portal. One major difference, it's kind of small, maybe doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot to you right now, but you can see in the upper right corner that the activate account button now looks like it says sign in. So Matrix says, I know this client has an account, they're just not signed in yet. So that's a minor difference that you'll be able to kind of tell. So watch, as I said, I can click sign in. I've saved the credentials. I don't even have to type in the password. It's really not inconvenient for your client at all. So let's just go ahead and sign in. Now this is bringing up a client search that I had performed last night, but now that I've activated an account, notice in the upper left corner I have a different drop down here. So when a client has activated an account, they can more easily separate out to view what you've sent them, what they've searched on. So we can see up toward the top, Marietta Test. This is a search that I have sent them as my, as an agent. So if I go here, it's just taking a little while. My internet's a little slow sometimes, but eventually it's going to bring up Marietta Homes. We also can see there's where the client can view searches that they've saved. Another nice thing with OneHome is, I don't know if you know this or not, but in Matrix, this is existing now. In Matrix, you can hover over search, and normally, you go to residential or whatever. But at the bottom of the search window, I don't know why this is taking a while. At the bottom of the search menu, it has the option for public records. You can send public records to your client. So especially if, for example, your client is an investor, maybe you're going to send them public records to take a look at. So it's going to keep the listings separate from the public records. Now in OneHome, you can kind of send them two different types of records. I think maybe what I'm dealing with here is my bad luck, whereby I think probably what's happening is CoreLogic is working on the portals. There we go. I'm just going to refresh. Okay, there we go. That works. All right. So they can still view searches. They can run their own. They, of course, can look at their favorites. So again, because I am looking at an activated account, I can see the favorites there. They have the planner as well. Okay, so a couple things. Let me just kind of bounce back to the main screen just by clicking the OneHome link in the upper left corner. If I click into a particular property, let's find one here, this one, and go into it. As I said, they can request a tour, so let me kind of show you how that process is going to happen for the client. Once they've activated their account, they can click request a tour. And as I said, this is where they can say, for example, you know what, I'm free on, tomorrow, and I'm free from 12 to 6. They can just indicate the date and time that they're free. And then when they click request a tour, as I said before, that becomes a note sent to you. So if I click add a note down below, I can add a note here and I can just type in whatever I want to, right? It's not always just a tour request that the client's going to put a note as. But you can see here that I've done, as I said, a couple times I've done this presentation. You can see the notes that I've used there for requesting a tour. Okay. The compare, the market insights, that's still, of course, going to be there. Scrolling down, there's not a big difference in the information on this page between an unactivated account and an activated account. So of course the purpose of sending properties to your client, we want to get them as much information as possible so they're an informed consumer and can quickly put in an offer. So we don't tend to, downplay or reduce the amount of capability the client has when they're looking at a property. It's just like I said, they have to activate to favorite, dislike, write a note. That kind of stuff is what they're going to want to do. So the next thing I want to show you, like I said, this is arguably the coolest thing I think this new portal does. Notice in the upper right corner, I now have, after I've signed in, my client's initials, VI. I thought I was very clever the other day and I named my client Vlad Impala. Okay. But when I open my client's little menu up there, they can view their profile, edit their name and all that kind of stuff. And here's something I want to make you aware of, so there's no surprises. The client can choose which agent they're working with. A client can work with multiple agents. So I will give you 100% an example that happened in my presentation. Last Friday, almost a week ago, last Friday, I did this presentation and one of the agents in my Zoom meeting then said, I'm actually working with an agent in California and I'm interested to see what the California portal does differently than my portal here for where we live. And so, we were going around. She was actually impressed with it, but that is part of the reason why, because you may or may not know that FMLS is kind of branching out from Georgia. We've now got some people in Alabama. We're looking to get even more people in Alabama. We're looking to get people in Tennessee. I can't give you too much information about that because I don't know about it. It's a bit above my pay grade. But we're starting to branch out. So you might end up with investors, especially, who are dealing in multiple states, right? I want to buy a couple things in Alabama. I want to buy a couple things in California. I want to buy a couple things in Florida, whatever the case may be. So again, where an agent might not necessarily like the idea of a client being able to have multiple agents in their little drop down there, we also want the experience to be convenient for your client. And so to give them some convenience, and also to not make people have 19 different email addresses that they're going to have to register for OneHome. Now that client of yours just logs into OneHome and they can say, let me see what my Georgia homes are doing with my Georgia estate agent. Then let me flip over to California, right? They can just log in once and be able to kind of see that. So again, it's a convenience factor for the client there. But here's the thing I want to show you. Notice down below is a link that says Propertyfit Preferences. I'm going to go there because this client has already set some preferences. So I'm going to click Change here just so that we can kind of start this over so you can see what this is. Again, as I mentioned a little while ago, if you had me as a client and you asked me, do you like Cape Cod or Tudor or whatever, like I said, I'd look at you like a deer in headlights. So Propertyfit is really cool because, watch this, it can ask the client 7 questions on what they might prefer to see in homes. So do you want a newer home or something somewhat older? I want a newer home, for example. Do I want an outdoor space or am I happy staying indoors? Well, I'll tell you right now, I'm an indoor kind of guy, but when you show me a nice landscaped little sitting area like that, I love that. I'd like to have that. I'll go for that. Do you like open concept or traditional? I know open concept is all the rage for the last 10 years, but I'm a traditional guy. I like well-defined spaces. I like walls. Do I want a garage? Yes. Do I want a smart home or am I not that concerned? I like a smart home. I like my Ecobee. Do I want an environmentally low impact home or is that not a top priority for me? I would love to have some solar panels maybe. Do I want a larger lot or a smaller lot? Well, a minute ago I said that, yeah, I like that little seating area in that picture, but I don't want to draw, I don't want to mow grass all Saturday, so I want a smaller lot. And so it's going to say, great, there's my 7 questions. I'm going to click done. Now it comes back to the properties that you have sent them as the agent, and notice in the lower left corner of each property is a percentage match to their preferences. Okay, again, this is called Propertyfit. And so for the client, what they can do is up toward the top, right above their top property, they can click sort by, and they can sort by Propertyfit to maybe get them to encourage them to take a look. So if you've got a client who, like me, has the attention span of a goldfish, they're going to get real distracted real quickly. Maybe you just encourage them, okay, well, let's sort by Propertyfit, and that way we might look at ones that really interest you at the top of the list. Okay. So that's Propertyfit. It's really awesome. And again, they can always go in and kind of reset their preferences. Okay. There's also another section kind of similar to Propertyfit. I lumped this in the same category that says my top features. So they can click that and they can say, pick up to 3 interior features you'd most like in your home. So I, for instance, would like hardwood flooring, granite countertops, and an ensuite master. Great. 3 exterior features. I love a pool. I want a fenced yard. I've got dogs. I need a fenced yard. And I would like a porch. Okay. Rank my choices, right? I can rank that. And so again, this is just going to give you an insight. It's just another method that the client can give you insights into what they might prefer. So if I bring over Matrix, where did my Matrix screen go here? There we go. All right, so if I bring over Matrix, what I want to show you here is, all right, so that client was looking at homes in Marietta. Those homes were up in Marietta. So let's do this. I'm going to go up and I'm going to do a search for homes in Decula. Let's look for homes in Decula. I'm going to go to results. Now you may or may not know about this. It's kind of a little hidden gem that not too many people I think know about. I'd be curious to know if you know about this. I just know it would be interesting to me to see how many people know about this. But when you do a search, when you're on your results grid here, do you know you can go to refine, and where it says view as, you can select that client. And as it stands right now, the only column that we have here is emailed. So that this way you can take a look at something and say, have I already sent this to the client? Because obviously that's something that a lot of agents might be concerned by. Like, I don't want to look like an idiot in front of my client and send them the same property 19 times. So as of right now, like I said, that's in there. You can use this right this very second. If you had already sent any of those properties to your client, it would have the date that you had previously emailed that record to them. But more to the point of today's presentation, notice that we now have a Propertyfit column going forward with OneHome. So you can now also sort by Propertyfit and say, okay, wait, my property sort isn't quite, there we go, a little bit. Do it again. Okay. It's not working right because these numbers are kind of all over the map. Like I said, they're kind of working on this still. That's why we're kind of doing this pre-presentation. But you can see down here, I've got a 70 property fit. So that's a pretty good fit, right? Because it's a percentage out of 100. So you can see that now, like I said, maybe you've got a client that, bless their little heart, they get confused real easily. They get sidetracked really easily. Now you can really just maybe send them the top 5 or 6 Propertyfit properties and say, look, I just really want you to focus on these. These are based on what you've indicated that you like. So it's not even me as your agent taking a stab in the dark. This is 100% what you've said you like, and we can go with it from there. Okay, so that Propertyfit I think is a really awesome tool. That's a really, really cool feature that I'm really looking forward to when this launches. All right. Otherwise, that is pretty much it, y'all. That's all the features. So hopefully you saw some things in there that you liked. Like I said, especially that Propertyfit, the planner tool, the comparison tool. Those are the 3 big ones that the current portal doesn't have that I think are going to be real big improvements to your client experience. The only other thing that I would mention, let's take a look at 2 last things here real quickly. On the Matrix homepage, I had encouraged you to take a look at that Matrix Learning Lab widget, because that's going to give you marketing materials and more videos and more information if you feel you need it when we're done here. But also, of course, you may or may not be using the recent portal visitors widget. So realize, of course, that with OneHome, it says recent OneHome visitors. But really, there's nothing that's going to change there. So if you're already using this widget for your current portal people, it works the same way. It looks the same way. Literally, the only change to this is that it now says OneHome instead of portal. Okay. The final thing to look at is if I go to my contacts screen. So if you hover over my matrix, go to contacts, pull up one of your contacts, the view of your contact changes a little bit. So what we've got here that's changed is if they've done any of their planner, you can kind of check up on them and see what they've done. So you'll have that agent level access on the back end to see what they've done there. Propertyfit, if they've indicated their Propertyfit, if they've gone through that. Again, I would strongly encourage you to encourage your clients to do that. But this is where also, if you have multiple email addresses for this client, you want to see what the husband's preferences are, you want to see what the wife's preferences are, that kind of thing, you can enumerate that. And then the only other thing that's different here is the OneHome search would be where you can see what searches they might have run and saved, so that you can open that up and go to the results to give the agent level data. Because again, that's the purpose. If the client does their own search, all they're going to see is the buyer level access. They're not going to see the private remarks. They're not going to see the listing agent details. They're not going to see the showing instructions. So they're going to have to call you and say, hey, I found this property on my portal. I was doing a search. What can you tell me about that property. This is the easiest way to come in and look for it. You don't have to say, well, what was the address? And let me do a search and this, that, and the other. You can simply come into your contacts, go to their OneSearch side, and then open the results. Because you're in Matrix, you're going to get the agent search. It will have the, it would be just like doing a regular search. You can just click on the FMLS number, open it up, take a look at the showing instructions. Is it vacant? Whatever it is that they want to know, you'll have that there. Okay, so that's the big thing. Hopefully y'all felt like I was just kind of talking, because that's going to be good news for me, because you felt like, okay, I get this, I understand it, it's not a big deal. Hopefully you like the stuff that's coming up. But that's pretty much it. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my recording. As always, don't forget that you can contact our support department by telephone Monday through Friday 9 to 6, Saturday 9 to 5 at 404-255-8660 option 1 for any additional questions or concerns you may have.